My girlfriend secretly transformed my beachfront boathouse into a crypto mining farm for her cousins, charging thousands in electricity to my account. I evicted them all and demanded compensation. I never expected betrayal would arrive in the form of humming machines and soaring utility bills. At 38, my life as an architectural restoration specialist at Heritage Preservation Group in Newport seemed perfectly ordinary. Steady job, modest beachfront cottage inherited from my grandmother, and what I thought was a healthy relationship with Eliza. We'd been together for nearly 14 months, and aside from minor disagreements, everything appeared stable on the surface. Looking back, the warning signs were there. Eliza had developed a habit of making small decisions about my home without consulting me. She'd rearrange furniture, invite friends over without notice, and once painted the guest bedroom a jarring shade of teal while I was away at a restoration conference. I brushed these incidents off as quirks rather than red flags, believing relationships required compromise. My mistake was confusing compromise with surrender. The mystery began when I received my March electricity bill. The amount had nearly doubled from February. I initially attributed it to seasonal changes. Perhaps my aging heating system was working overtime during the unexpectedly cold coastal nights. When April's bill arrived with figures tripled from my usual expenses, alarm bells finally rang. Something was seriously wrong. I rarely ventured into the detached boathouse that came with the property. It primarily stored old architectural blueprints, restoration materials, and antique fixtures I salvaged from various projects. One evening after work, concerned about potential electrical problems, I decided to investigate. The moment I pushed open the weathered blue door, the cacophony hit me: whirring fans, humming processors, and the unmistakable heat of machinery working at full capacity. My boathouse had been transformed into an elaborate cryptocurrency mining operation. 3 strangers hunched over monitors barely acknowledged my entrance. The floor-to-ceiling racks of specialized computers with their blinking lights and tangled cables explained my astronomical electricity bills. "Who authorized this?" I demanded, my voice echoing against the wooden walls. One of them, a lanky man with disheveled hair, glanced up briefly. "Your girlfriend said we could use the space. It's all arranged." The betrayal felt physical, like a wave crashing over me. I stormed back to the main house where Eliza sat on the porch swing, watching the sunset over the bay as if nothing were amiss. "Care to explain why my boathouse is running what appears to be an industrial-scale crypto mining operation?" I asked, placing the electricity bill on the table between us. Eliza's carefully crafted explanation unraveled quickly. These weren't just random acquaintances, but her cousins from Seattle who needed space for their investment opportunity. According to her version of events, I had ample unused space, and they would eventually share profits once the operation matured. My role was simple: provide the location and pay the electricity costs, which she euphemistically called my contribution to our shared future. "You never thought to discuss this with me?" I asked, incredulous at her presumption. Her dismissive response revealed everything. "It's not that serious. Family helps family. The bills are temporary. Once they start making real money, we'll all benefit." This wasn't a misunderstanding, but a calculated scheme. My property and financial resources were being exploited without consent, and Eliza's casual attitude suggested she saw nothing wrong with her actions. That night, lying awake, while the distant hum of mining equipment reached even my bedroom, I decided this exploitation would end immediately. The next morning I contacted Victoria, an attorney friend who specialized in property law. Her assessment confirmed my position. Unauthorized occupants could be evicted, and the unauthorized use of my utilities could constitute theft of services. She advised documenting everything and formally notifying all parties to cease operations. Armed with my phone's camera, I returned to the boathouse. The cousins' attitudes shifted from casual indifference to hostility when I began photographing their equipment. The oldest cousin, a heavy-set man with a scruffy beard, blocked my path. "We have an arrangement with Eliza," he stated firmly. "This setup cost thousands. We're not going anywhere." "Your arrangement wasn't with the property owner," I replied, continuing to document their operation. "You have 24 hours to remove everything before I involve law enforcement." Their expressions suggested they didn't believe I would follow through. Their mistake. When confronted again, Eliza cycled through a predictable pattern of responses. Dismissal. "You're overreacting." Minimization. "It's just electricity." Promises. "We'll get big returns soon." And finally, emotional manipulation. "I thought you loved me." When these tactics failed, she attempted tears, claiming she'd been pressured by her cousins and only wanted to secure our financial future. The transparency of her manipulation only strengthened my resolve. This wasn't about money, it was about fundamental respect and trust. She had made significant decisions about my property, committed me to substantial expenses, and prioritized her cousin's profit scheme over our relationship. The following day, the mining operation continued unabated. As promised, I contacted local authorities. Officer Ramirez arrived promptly, took my statement, and verified my ownership of the property. Despite protests from Eliza's cousins about a verbal agreement, the officer made it clear, without the property owner's consent, they were trespassing. Their indignation as they dismantled their equipment was almost comical. One cousin threatened legal action for their losses, while another promised I'd regret crossing them. Officer Ramirez reminded them that their unauthorized operation left them with no legal standing, which quickly tempered their bravado. Throughout this confrontation, Eliza hovered nervously between her family and me, her divided loyalties painfully evident. When the cousins finally departed with their equipment, she attempted one last reconciliation, a desperate plea filled with promises that rang hollow after her betrayal. "I want you out by the end of the week," I told her calmly, my decision already made. "This trust can't be rebuilt." Her reaction progressed from disbelief to anger to bargaining. A predictable cycle that only confirmed I was making the right choice. When she claimed partial ownership of the home based on her months living there, Victoria quickly dispelled that notion. Eliza had never contributed to mortgage payments, utilities, or property taxes. Legally, she remained merely a guest whose welcome had expired. The following days were tense but necessary. I boxed Eliza's possessions while she alternated between tearful pleas and angry accusations. By Friday, she had arranged to stay with a friend, leaving behind only a handwritten note filled with self-justifications that conveniently overlooked her fundamental breach of trust. Victoria proceeded with a small claims case against the cousins for the excessive utility costs. They initially resisted, characterizing me as unreasonable and greedy, but their position weakened when presented with the documented evidence and the possibility of more serious charges. Eventually, they settled, covering approximately 70% of the additional expenses, not the full amount I deserved, but enough to demonstrate they couldn't exploit others without consequences. With the boathouse empty and quiet once more, I installed a proper security system and changed all locks. The space gradually returned to its original purpose: storage for my restoration materials and occasional workshop for refurbishing historical artifacts. The hum of machinery was replaced by the natural sounds of coastal life: seagulls, distant waves, and wind through pines. The ordeal left me more cautious, but also more attuned to relationship boundaries. Eliza's occasional messages grew less frequent, and eventually stopped altogether when I maintained no contact. I learned her cousin's cryptocurrency venture collapsed within months, their scheme requiring continuous expansion and new investors to remain viable. Sometimes, while documenting the delicate moldings of a Victorian-era building, I reflect on what happened. The experience was painful, but clarifying. It revealed the difference between genuine partnership and exploitation disguised as affection. By standing firm against those who viewed my resources as theirs to commandeer, I reclaimed not just my property, but my agency. My cottage by the sea is quieter now, but it's a peaceful quiet, one built on self-respect rather than compromise. The electricity bills have returned to normal, and I've found unexpected satisfaction in knowing that when tested, I valued integrity over false harmony. That lesson, expensive as it was in both emotional and financial terms, has proven invaluable in rebuilding my life on more solid foundations. If you enjoyed this story about standing up for yourself against exploitation, please subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences and lessons learned the hard way. Your support helps us continue sharing these important stories.